Hello everyone, I'm Anurag. I'm an engineer and a technical writer currently working at Locofy. Uh, I am I like to experiment a lot with different frameworks, libraries, and unlike the previous talk that we had, which was much more in-depth with a lot of how to scale, this is going to be a more beginner-friendly guide on how you can build full-stack applications really quickly. So today I will be presenting to you Astro.js, and in this talk we will see how we can set up an Astro project and all the different elements in it that make it a great framework for full stack development. So the first question in your mind must be what is Astro.js and why you should even there are so many frameworks like in developer world we think in every single week or in every single hour there is a new framework released. So what makes Astro so different? So the number one thing that makes Astro very different is that there is 0 KB of JavaScript overhead, and it does so using something called an island architecture. We will see all of this in detail in just a few minutes. But besides this, Astro also has some unique key highlights. So for example, you can use different UI frameworks as well with Astro. So you can use Svelte, Preact, you can even use Solid.js. So if you are familiar with Signals, you can use something like Solid.js out of the box. And besides this, this is just a standard MPA framework, multi-page framework like Nick.js. Okay, I'm just having some issues over here. Yep. So let us see the 0 KB of JavaScript in action. Yep. So even though we say we are JavaScript developers, we like to write JavaScript. At the end of the day, I would not want to ship unnecessary JavaScript to my end users. So over here, you can see in terms of this page that we have over here. Just a second. Yep. So on the page over here, you can see that our JavaScript is actually 0 bytes that have been shipped to the end user. And in this page, we are getting all the responsive functionalities as well, thanks to Tailwind CSS. And this was actually built with Astro. When we compare this something to a React application, similar scale, discuss. Yep. Over here, so this is a build production ready React application. And if I'm reloading the page over here, you can see I've not added any functionality, any use effect, any use case. Yet there is 148 KB of JavaScript that is being shipped. So how do we avoid all of this unnecessary JavaScript overhead? So what Astro does here is it introduces something like an island architecture, and island architecture in brief basically means that your entire web page will be HTML. So you will only see HTML everywhere, and you will have these small islands of interactivity that will be powered by JavaScript. So to add these elements of interactivity, what you can do is you can add this line log over here as online forking, and what it means is that everything besides this logging form will actually be powered by just HTML and CSS, whereas online forking, the logging form will also have JavaScript attached. So this is how Astro actually handles 0 KBJS and the island architecture. Now before we move on to how we can handle state management and how we can run server-side code, let us just see how Astro is different from Next.js. So Astro and Next.js they do have some similarities in the sense that they both are MPA frameworks. However, they do also have their own differences. So the number one difference between them is of course the support for different UI libraries. So Astro you can use Svelte, React, Preact Vue, but Next.js is React exclusive. And the other difference between them, the major one, is the adapter system. So Next.js, if you deploy it to anywhere else, if you go to an AWS and you try to deploy it, you will know that the issues that you will face over there. Because deploying Next.js on Lambda Edge is a pain. And with Astro, what you get is you get these different adapters that you can use to easily configure a app to run on Cloudflare, AWS, or any other provider of your choice. So these are the major differences that you can see. Now let's see the basic app in Astro and how we can actually install React and Tailwind in it. So I have created this template over here, which is the Astro Skarker template. So by default, if you run the basic command on their Astro, which is npm create astro@latest, you will get this basic empty template over here. And what I would be doing is I would be actually installing React and Tailwind CSS into it. So in Astro, you can, again, I'm mentioning that you can use different frameworks, and it's very easy to install all of these UI frameworks into them. So all you can do to install React and Tailwind is run npx astro add React, and then I also want Tailwind CSS, so we can add Tailwind. Just click continue, and this will automatically configure a file here called astro config and add everything over there. So this was it, and now we can create a standard, say, components folder, and let's create a sample React component. Let me also add some styles over here. So I'll just add a guess, and now we can import it anywhere. So this is a standard Astro page, and I'll be importing a React component over here. Now let me restart the project. There's some issue. Okay, this should be components. Yep. Now you can see that we got a hello, and this hello is actually rendered by the React component, and it already has the Tailwind styles applied to it as well. So this is how you can install React and Tailwind into your Astro apps and move faster as well. So now let's look at a more real world example. So one of the things you might be noticing in an app while building is the state management. So the state management was also discussed by the previous talker Akash over here, but Astro also recommends a state management solution, and the state management that it offers is actually framework agnostic. So if you have a Svelte component and a React component, you can easily share these states between them as well. And the way it does that is by using something called nano scores, which you can see over here. But before we jump into code, let me just show you the example that I've created. So this is a page over here, which is a standard page, and this is where React excels because there are so many different components, and you can easily split your app into different components. Now you will notice that when I'm hitting the button over here at cart, you can see the checkout button at over here is actually updating. So if I'm again clicking it, you can see it keeps updating every time I'm hitting the button. So this is actually done by something called nano scores that we have. And if I go to my index page, you can see that all of these are different buttons, different UI components in my Astro app. However, there is no single pairing or React context that I'm using, because if I use React context, then I can only share state between my React components, but I also want to share the state between different components like Svelte, Vue. So for this, I'm using something called nano scores, and I'm creating a file over here, which is basically a JavaScript or a TypeScript file, and I'm using something called atoms, which is very similar to a provider that we have in use context. I'm passing a value as 0, so you can only pass in single value, or you can also pass in a JavaScript object, but you cannot pass in like a array, and it's not very optimized for objects. So if you are using objects, you can use something called map, but we won't be seeing that today. So what I've done here is, again, I've used the island architecture, and I have made everything on the, for example, this particular buttons and everything image, everything it does not have JavaScript. only the header buttons and the buttons over here they have JavaScript. And let me open up the file. Yep. So the buttons over here is actually this add to cart button, and I'm using something called uScore, which is again provided by the nanoscore scheme. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually simply, this is very simple JavaScript and TypeScript at work. So the cart number that is just created over here, right? This one. I can actually import it over here, and it gives us a lot of function. So it gives us seg, get, listen, notify, and all of these different functions. And all I'm doing here is I'm just using seg, and I'm incrementing the value by 1 on add to cart. So this is how when I'm clicking on add to cart, the value is getting incremented. And for my checkout button, um, again I'm using uScore, but over here I'm not updating the value. All I'm doing is I'm just simply placing the value over here, and this actually places the value up over here, and then it updates it, as you can see. So this is how you can actually handle state management across different UI components. Now let's move on to a much more full stack application that has server-side code in it. And for this, I will be using a dashboard as an application. So this is the app that I already showed to you guys before, and we will see how we will actually build this application. So this is the Figma designs that I have created in advance for the dashboard. And usually what I would do is I would actually code this by hand and convert all of these components to a pixel perfect code by hand. But to respect your time and mine, I will simply use a plugin, Locofy plugin. Yep. And our design is actually using auto layout out of the box. So it is responsive on Figma, and the Locofy plugin actually builds up on the Figma plugins as well, the Figma settings. So if it is responsive on Figma, it is responsive on Locofy as well. However, one thing that you should keep in mind is, for example, there is a button, right? We all know this is a button. If I ask anybody in the audience, they will tell you this sign up is a button. But for our Figma, actually, this is just a rectangle with some border radius. So in my plugin, in my Figma Locofy plugin, I will just use this element, and I will attach a HTML tag to it called button over here, and just select a UI library none. And then to make this responsive, I can also add styles to it based on the different breakpoints that we have. So for example, if the breakpoint is 600 pixels, I can go and add some hover effects and increase the width. So after adding all of the CSS properties and add responsive properties, you can see the design in action on the preview screen. Let me open up this one as well. So you can see this is responsive on Locofy, and this is actually running on live code as well. So once you are happy with this, we can just click done, and then let me just view the code over here. Then we will see how Locofy generates the responsive code, and we will import it into Astro, and I will discuss how you can import your existing React projects into Astro. So this is the code Locofy has generated, and you can actually create components as well, because of course in real world you would not be making this entire dashboard in a single React file, like you would split it into different components. So for example, if I want to select, say, a section over here, say a welcome to dashboard section, and I want to split it into a component, I can just click component over here and click create component. And when the code is exported, you will see that this particular element is having its own component and its own file. So once you're happy with it, again, just click on export code and ignore the recommendations for now, and just click on confirm export. So the code that we generated already uses React Tailwind out of the box. I already have the code open over here. It's in a folder called React Frontend, and This is the code that we have. So all the components that we generated are placed in the components folder, and in the pages we have the pages like a normal React component as well. And this component actually imports the other React components and then shows them. So how do we move this into an Astro app? So the first thing that we need to do is we have a global CSS file over here on our React frontend. Now we need to move this file into our Astro so that all our settings and all our import of fonts are correctly applied. So on our Astro side, what we can do is I've already went ahead and created this configuration for you guys. So on Astro config, you can even pass in some custom objects into our integrations. So for our Kelvin integration, I have passed a config object and I have set the apply base styles to false. What it means is now I have to create my own base CSS file. So over here we are pasting the CSS file from our Locofy generated file that we had for the global styles. So once you have this file, now it is a piece of cake to move your existing React components to Astro. So the number one thing you should do is just copy the components folder as it is to your Astro project, as we have done over here. Once you have moved all the components, you can even copy the page over here as it is. Just copy everything and move it to your pages over here like I have done. So this is everything. However, one thing to remember is React uses class name, but Astro actually uses class. So you have to rename the class name to class over here. And that's it. When you go it, just make sure the component imports are right. So there might be some differences like we just saw in the previous example. So just make sure you are using the right folder name, and that should be it. And now you should see this in action over here. Now that we know how easy it is to move our create React apps to Astro, let's see how Astro handles server-side code. So you will notice over here is that before pasting all of this code that we generated in a React app, right, we have this particular block of code at the top as well, at the starting portion. So this is actually an Astro's opinionated way of how you should write server-side code. So anything that you write between this three things is actually running on the server. So what I've done here is I am basically creating a Superbase client and I'm checking if the user is authenticated or not. So for authentication, I'm using the Astro's cookie method, and Astro, you can think of it as a similar alternative to Next.js context that we have in the get server side props. So basically, I'm accessing the server's refresh and access keys, and then I'm checking in with Superbase if a session exists for that user. If the session exists and there are not any errors, then basically what I'm doing is I'm using Prisma as my ORM to fetch some things from my database. However, if the user is not authenticated on the server side itself, I can redirect them to a separate page, or I can display another UI for them. Now, one interesting thing to note over here is the server side rendering as well. So the values that I'm passing over here is, and this entire page is actually rendered on the server. And again, this is the client side architecture. So if you need JavaScript for any specific pages, or if you have some client side code, you can just add client log over here, and this would actually log this, basically enable JavaScript interactivities for this client. And to demonstrate that every React component that you are seeing can actually leverage all the React libraries that are out there, I have created this login form over here. And in the login form, I'm using the standard React libraries that you would use. So I'm using use effect, I'm using a standard on-click listener, I'm creating a Superbase client, and I'm even using something called the React cookie package to set some cookies that my server can later on guide.js can check for authentication. So this is how you can actually run server-side code on Astro, and However, there is one another thing that makes a function that makes a framework full stack is the support for a, is there is actually a connection between your front end and back end that a full stack framework should have. So this there are different frameworks with different approaches. So Remix has this use actions and logger kind of a connectivity. In Next.js, you can use gRPC and React Query for these kind of to connect to your backend. So in Astro as well, you can use all of these libraries like React Query and gRPC, but the standard approach or the more beginner approach is to just create a API endpoint, and from your client you can hit that API endpoint on your backend and basically pass the data and then use the front end to digest the data. So you can do something similar over here as well. Okay, let me just restart the project once. Yep. So you can do something similar on Astro as well. So in Astro, just like Next.js, you can create a API folder, and in that API folder you can create a file. So I've created a hello file that you are seeing. However, Astro actually makes the developer experience a bit better in this sense, because you should notice the naming conventions that we have over here. So each function's name like get, post, and patch, all of these are actually HTTP methods. So you don't need to write all of those if else statement. So you don't need to write if method is post then run this particular function. This makes like a very clean implementation of APIs. Now we can even see this in action. So for example, if I'm hitting a post over here using Postman, let me hit post. You can see we got method post with a hello as a message. So this is from this particular function. Similarly, if I'm going for get, so let me just change the method, and you can see we are getting this information that we have. And we also have a catch-all API method called all. And for example, if I'm using, say, something like copy, you can see we got method copy, which is basically this iterations over here. And these are all standard methods, Node.js methods that you can run on your side. So you can call Prisma, you can implement all of these complex functionalities. However, the thing over here to keep in mind is if you are deploying it to edge runtime, then you should make sure that whatever you're running over here is actually compatible with the edge runtime. So this actually brings us to the final slide that we have, which is the adapters, which I talked about earlier as well. So once you are ready with your Astro app, you can deploy it anywhere. So they have their own host of SSR adapters that you can see. So they have Cloudflare, Netlify, Astro, Vercel, and the edge runtime that I mentioned earlier. So if you click over here in Vercel, so if you notice, Vercel actually offers you 3 different kinds of deployment, which is edge and serverless and static deployment. Static is the ASIC, like SSD deployments. So you can choose any 3 of these deployments with Astro. And if you are choosing edge over here, like if you're importing from the edge package, just make sure that whatever API you are writing, it is actually compatible to run on the edge runtime. So this actually concludes everything there is that Astro has to offer for full stack functionality. Besides this, Astro has an excellent support for Markdown as well, but that will actually deviate us from discussing the full stack functionalities because Markdown is more for content oriented websites. So that's it, and if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take it further. Yeah.